Hello and welcome to another gripping episode of Case Unveiled, with your host, Alex. Today we're venturing into the shadowy world of organized crime to unravel the life of Griselda Blanco, the notorious Black Widow of the Medellín cartel. Griselda Blanco's story is not just one of criminal enterprise, but also a twisted tale of survival, brutality, and unyielding ambition. Born into abject poverty in Cartagena, Colombia, on February 15, 1943, Blanco's early life was marked by the harsh realities of growing up in a struggling, impoverished community. Colombia in the mid-20th century was a country rife with socio-economic inequality and instability. Poverty was widespread, and many families, including Blanco's, struggled to make ends meet. It was against this backdrop of deprivation and despair that Griselda Blanco's journey began. As we delve into her life, we'll explore the question of what drives an individual to choose a path of crime when faced with such dreary circumstances. We'll also uncover the complex factors that propelled Blanco from the slums of Cartagena to becoming one of the most feared drug lords in history. Throughout this episode, we'll examine the interplay between personal ambition, the lure of power and wealth, and the brutal realities of organized crime. Join me, Alex, as we embark on this journey to understand the dark legacy of Griselda Blanco, shedding light on the truths and myths surrounding her life and her reign in the world of narcotics trafficking. Griselda Blanco's childhood was marked by extreme poverty and neglect in Cartagena, Colombia. Her mother, Ana Lucia Restrepo, struggled to provide for her and her siblings, often leaving young Griselda to fend for herself in the tough streets of their impoverished neighborhood. It was an environment where survival often meant resorting to unconventional means.
Griselda Blanco was born February 15, 1943 in Cartagena, Colombia, which is the Caribbean coast. At the age of 3, along with her mother, Ana Lucia Restrepo, they moved to Medellín, Colombia. They lived in basically a tent home in the mountains of Medellín. She lived among the poorest of the poor. They had no bathroom facilities within the interior of the home, no running water, no electricity. There was really no laws that the people in the mountains followed.
At the age of 11, Blanco's life took a dark and audacious turn. In a desperate bid to escape the grips of poverty, she allegedly kidnapped a child from a wealthy family and attempted to ransom them. This early display of audacity and ruthlessness foreshadowed the path she was destined to take. Blanco's willingness to cross moral boundaries in pursuit of financial stability was already apparent at a remarkably young age. As she entered her teenage years, Blanco became further entangled with local criminal elements. Her reputation as a street-smart and fearless young woman grew as she engaged in small-time crimes, honing her skills in deception and violence. It was during this period that she developed a shrewd understanding of how to navigate the criminal underworld, an education that would serve her well in the years to come. In the 1970s, Blanco made a pivotal move that would change the course of her life. She relocated to the bustling streets of New York City, USA. Here, she saw an opportunity to elevate her criminal activities to a new level. It was in the heart of America's largest city that she began to establish her drug trafficking empire, ultimately leading her down a treacherous path filled with danger, power, and wealth.
Just 1 month before the tall ship Gloria from Columbia, South America, graced New York Harbor during the Opsail Bicentennial celebration, she was stopped and 13 pounds of cocaine were found on board.
Those indicted were Alberto Bravo and Griselda Blanco,
along with 37 of her subordinates for conspiracy to import cocaine. This was the first major cocaine indictment against a major cocaine trafficker in the United States.
Griselda Blanco's entry into the world of drug trafficking put her in close proximity to some of the most notorious figures in the criminal underworld, including Pablo Escobar, Carlos Later, and other key members of the Medellín cartel. Her cunning and ruthlessness quickly earned her a place among the cartel's leadership. Blanco's relationship with Pablo Escobar, in particular, was a complex and multifaceted one. While they were allies in the drug trade, there were also power struggles and conflicts of interest. Pablo Escobar, known as the King of Cocaine, was the undisputed leader of the Medellín cartel, but Blanco's influence was substantial in its own right.
While she started at the bottom of the drug trade, she would become one of the leading distributors of cocaine for the infamous Medellín cartel.
Medellín is a beautiful city now, and it is, unfortunately, thanks to drug money.
Pablo Escobar and a few of the great Colombian kingpins had so much power that they had politicians and police and the federal police on his payroll. They think they're invincible.
Pablo Escobar, wasn't for Griselda Blanco, there would be no Pablo Escobar.
At times, they collaborated closely, pooling their resources and expertise to expand their drug operations. Blanco's innovative smuggling methods complemented Escobar's extensive distribution networks. Together, they formed a formidable force in the global drug trade, generating immense wealth and influence. However, the alliance was not without its tensions. Both Escobar and Blanco were strong-willed and ambitious, and their respective spheres of influence within the cartel occasionally led to conflicts. These power struggles often played out in the shadows, as each sought to assert dominance and protect their interests. Carlos Later, another prominent member of the Medellín cartel, also had complex interactions with Blanco. Later's flamboyant personality and business acumen clashed with Blanco's more discreet and calculated approach. While they occasionally collaborated on certain ventures, their differences in style and strategy occasionally led to friction within the cartel's leadership. These intricate relationships within the Medellín cartel added layers of intrigue to the already perilous world of drug trafficking. The dynamics between Blanco, Escobar, Later, and other key figures influenced the overall trajectory of the cartel and shaped the criminal landscape of the era. Griselda Blanco's methods of drug smuggling were not only innovative, but also ruthlessly effective. She recognized the potential of using lingerie to smuggle drugs, a method that allowed her to bypass traditional security measures. This innovation, combined with her willingness to use extreme violence to maintain control and eliminate competition, cemented her position as one of the most formidable figures in the drug trade. Blanco's innovation in drug smuggling was not limited to lingerie alone. She was known for employing a range of creative and often audacious methods to transport narcotics. Her network utilized ingenious disguises, hidden compartments in vehicles, and even unique garments designed specifically for drug transportation. One of the most notorious examples of her innovative approach involved the use of bras and panties lined with secret pockets. These undergarments were custom-made to conceal significant quantities of cocaine, allowing her couriers to pass through airport security with relative ease. The audacity and meticulous planning behind these smuggling operations were staggering, and they proved highly effective for a considerable period. However, Blanco's innovation didn't end with just the methods of transportation. She also displayed a keen understanding of the distribution chain. Her operations involved setting up safe houses, often in quiet suburban neighborhoods, where drugs were packaged and prepared for distribution. These properties were strategically chosen to evade law enforcement scrutiny. Blanco's willingness to adapt and evolve her smuggling techniques in response to changing circumstances made her a constant challenge for authorities. Her ability to stay one step ahead of law enforcement and rival cartels only added to her mystique and the fear she instilled in her adversaries. The innovations in drug trafficking introduced by Griselda Blanco not only revolutionized the cocaine trade, but also posed significant challenges for law enforcement agencies tasked with combating drug-related crime. These creative methods were key to her success and longevity in the illicit drug trade. Griselda Blanco's reign in the drug trade is a dark chapter in criminal history, marked by unprecedented brutality and sophistication. During the Miami drug wars, she became a central figure, orchestrating a wave of violence that shook the city to its core. Her ruthlessness extended to pioneering some of the most gruesome methods of assassination, instilling fear not only in her enemies, but also in those within her organization. Blanco's notoriety was earned through a series of ruthless acts. She was known to employ a cadre of hitmen and enforcers who carried out her orders with ruthless efficiency. One of the most chilling aspects of her reign was her willingness to target not only rival drug traffickers, but also anyone she perceived as a threat or a liability, including members of her own organization.
The man hiding under the car was another liquor store worker. The assailant sprayed gunfire all around the parking lot. Shell fragments were found some 40 yards from the store. The getaway delivery van marked Happy Time Party Supplies was then dumped in the mall's north parking lot. Inside were several rifles, pistols, and shotguns, some ammunition, and flak vests. Officers searched the surrounding neighborhood for more than an hour, but turned up no suspects. The bodies of the victims were not removed from the scene until 8 this evening. Identities have not yet been released. Other information about the murders is still sketchy as the investigation and search for suspects continues. Bob Lawrence, Channel 4 News.
One of two men killed during a hail of machine gun fire at Dadeland Mall Wednesday was identified as a major cocaine dealer wanted by federal authorities. The man, 38-year-old Hermaine Pinesso, was named in a 1978 New York indictment by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration.
One of the most infamous incidents associated with Griselda Blanco was the chilling murder of her former lover and business associate, Dario Sepulveda. Blanco's paranoia had reached a fever pitch as she became consumed by the belief that Sepulveda was cooperating with law enforcement, threatening her criminal empire. In response, she ordered his execution, and what followed was a horrifying and gruesome act that sent shivers down the spines of anyone who dared to cross her. The details of Dario Sepulveda's murder, although not fully disclosed, paint a nightmarish picture of brutality and terror. It was not a mere execution. It was a carefully orchestrated display of barbarity meant to instill dread and obedience in her inner circle. Blanco's brutality extended to the use of sicarios, or contract killers, who carried out numerous assassinations on her behalf. These hired assassins used a variety of methods, including drive-by shootings and bombings, to eliminate her rivals. The violence was not limited to the streets of Miami. It extended to Colombia and other locations where her criminal interests were at stake. The reign of terror orchestrated by Griselda Blanco had a profound impact on the criminal landscape in Miami and beyond. Her brutal methods and willingness to eliminate perceived threats created an atmosphere of fear and paranoia among both her competitors and her own associates. Her notoriety grew with each act of violence, solidifying her status as the godmother of the cocaine trade. Despite her power and wealth, Griselda Blanco's life was characterized by constant threats and complex relationships. Her paranoia was well known, leading to a life surrounded by bodyguards and safe houses. She indulged in extravagant lifestyles, but her existence was marred by the constant threat of betrayal and arrest. One of the most significant threats to Blanco's life came from rival drug traffickers and cartel members who sought to eliminate her as a formidable competitor. Attempts on her life were frequent and often daring. Shootouts in broad daylight, bombings, and ambushes were part of her daily existence. Blanco's ability to evade these threats demonstrated her survival instincts and the lengths she would go to protect her empire. Blanco's relationships, both personal and professional, were marked by volatility and violence. She was known to have tumultuous marriages and alliances that frequently ended in bloodshed. Griselda Blanco's marriage to Alberto Bravo, a fellow Colombian drug trafficker, was a notorious and tumultuous union that left a trail of violence and power struggles. Their relationship was marked by treacherous twists and turns, ultimately culminating in a shocking act of violence, the assassination of Alberto Bravo, allegedly ordered by Blanco herself. In a calculated and audacious move, hitmen were reportedly dispatched to carry out the gruesome deed. The method chosen for Bravo's execution was both brutal and symbolic, reflecting the depths of Blanco's resolve to maintain control. The act was carried out with ruthless efficiency, sending shockwaves through the criminal underworld.
Alberto was shot in his face, so he died before he hit the ground. Griselda, she stumbled back to the limousine. She was severely wounded in the stomach, so her bodyguards rushed her to the hospital. In her feverish state, she asked about Alberto, but he told the godmother that Alberto was dead. So she conjured up a smile, and she drifted back off. Alberto Bravo became the second dead husband of Griselda Blanco, and a new myth was born around Griselda Blanco as well.
Another tumultuous relationship was with her right-hand man, Jorge Rivi Ayala, who later became an informant for law enforcement. Ayala's cooperation with authorities placed Blanco in an even more precarious position, as the loyalty of those closest to her was constantly in question. Blanco's life was further complicated by her extensive network of criminal associates and the constant threat of betrayal from within her organization. Her paranoia led her to maintain a tight grip on her empire, but it also made her enemies among those she mistrusted. Despite her lavish lifestyle and apparent invincibility, Griselda Blanco's existence was one of relentless tension and fear. The constant threat of violence and betrayal hung over her like a dark cloud, a stark reminder of the treacherous world she had chosen to inhabit. The legacy of Griselda Blanco, the notorious Black Widow, is a complex and enduring one. Her impact on the drug trade was immense, revolutionizing the cocaine trafficking industry and contributing significantly to the cocaine cowboy era in Miami during the 1970s and 1980s. Blanco's life was a series of dramatic highs and lows. At the peak of her power, she reportedly amassed a fortune of over $2 billion and was responsible for up to 200 murders. However, her reign was not without challenges. She faced numerous attempts on her life and spent years evading law enforcement. Her eventual arrest and imprisonment marked the end of an era in the drug trade, though her influence continued to be felt long after. Her death in 2012 did little to diminish her notoriety. Blanco's story has been immortalized in various media, becoming a symbol of the brutal realities of the drug trade and its impact on individuals and societies. She remains a controversial figure, a ruthless criminal who broke gender barriers in a male-dominated field, a symbol of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the human cost of the illicit drug industry.
You know what I mean when I say the Godfather, right? Well, get ready to hear about the Godmother of Cocaine. She is Griselda Blanco, a 69-year-old mother of four, seen here in one of her many mugshots. As of yesterday, she is dead, gunned down by a motorcycle-riding assassin as she stepped out of a butcher shop in Medellín, Colombia. But this cocaine godmother made her name as drug kingpin right here in this country. In Miami in the 70s and the 80s, she is so notorious, in fact, a documentary chronicled her exploits. Here is just a piece of that. Be warned, the language is rough. Life. So she was killed by a motorcycle assassin going into a butcher shop. There's so much irony in there.
Exactly. Well, so much irony because she basically invented that kind of execution in the 70s and 80s when she was powerful in California, then in New York, and then in Miami, bringing 3,500 pounds of cocaine every year. At one point in time, her fortune was estimated at $1.5 billion.
At one point in time, she plotted to kidnap JFK Jr.?
That's one of the allegations of one of her associates that appeared in the documentary that you just showed people, but apparently it was just talk. It never actually materialized.
In popular culture, Griselda Blanco's life has been the subject of books, documentaries, and even a television series, ensuring that her story continues to captivate and intrigue audiences around the world. Her criminal empire and the violence associated with it serve as cautionary tales about the destructive consequences of the drug trade. In conclusion, Griselda Blanco's life encapsulates the volatile intersection of poverty, power, and crime. Her story serves as a sobering reminder of the complex dynamics that fuel the global drug trade and the profound consequences that ripple through communities and generations. It is a story of ambition, brutality, and the enduring legacy of a woman who left an indelible mark on the criminal world.
Una guerra que terminó mal. Griselda Blanco de Trujillo. Esta es su tumba. Y aquí, a pocos metros, donde están los pinos, está también enterrado Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Paradójicamente, en esta misma área del cementerio están enterrados casi todos los miembros del cartel de Medellín que murieron después de una violenta guerra. Sus tumbas, al igual que la de Griselda Blanco, ahora forman parte de una visita guiada.
La mataron septiembre 3 del 2012. Tenía 69 años. Pagó cárcel en Estados Unidos. Hablan de 25 a 30 años.